Well, first one, I'm not sure if I remember my first one exactly, but the one that sticks out most in my mind is when I was 20 years old and I was in Greece, living there for 3 months, and at the bar late one night, open till 4, so we were pretty hammered, and this woman said that she was going to take me home.
She comes up, starting to drink a couple beers, and whispers into my ear, "I'm going to rape you tonight."
And she took me home, had her way with me. She told me exactly what she wanted, including doing no sex, telling me to put it in her ass. And
I hear this sound, a slight little sound, and I turn my head and look over, and what do I see? 2.5-year-old son, little hands, little head, side of the bed, staring at me.
Then she got me all bundled up afterwards and said it's time to hit the road, and sent me out the door. Sent me packing.
She was there at my christening and shit, and then I fucked her.
That was probably my first one, first most memorable one.
Sometimes cougars are displayed, I'm beginning to realize, as desperate looking and horny or lonely, or losers, etc. And it's definitely broader than that.
I'm hoping that people are going to get to a point in their life when they really don't see it as being their business who other people sleep with or pass judgment on it.
A randy, older woman who takes what she wants and that doesn't necessarily give anything back.
You know, there's always been these sort of norms where people think that, you know, the man should be a few years older than the woman, and, you know, and then they should get married and have a boy and a girl, and wouldn't that be just perfect? Well, that just doesn't fit so many people's lifestyle attitudes, their desires at all. There are a lot of people, for whatever reason, are just connected, feel great with another human being regardless of their gender or their age. Or
well, if I think about cougars, I think about, you know, a predatory, dangerous animal.
And they considered middle-aged women to be hunters of younger men.
Maybe the lighting was good.
Sometimes we make fun of them, and I would be really surprised if pretty soon you didn't find women sort of making jokes about cougars and inventing other names around that.
80s hair, the bigger the better.
Yeah.
The bigger the more cougarish.
Over 45.
Yes.
Provocative clothing.
Leopard print, they like the leopard print.
Yes, definitely. Or zebra.
Or zebra.
Just a little bit more original.
Yes.
I mean, that's the stereotypical definition of a cougar.
That women have been identified with all kinds of cats for the last few hundred years, and maybe cougar is just a particular incidence of that.
I don't think that I ever heard the term from my parents speaking about, you know, when they were growing up. So I think maybe something that's happened since the sexual revolution in the 60s and sort of developed since then. But I think maybe within the last 20 years is when the term sort of become, you know, out there socially.
A large majority of women who were growing up in when I was a teenager, about 30 years ago, there was always a double standard of women who would have sex and enjoy it were labeled as bad girls.
Whatever a woman does, she's going to get labeled for it, and that there are specific labels, like you say, that are applicable to younger women who are sexually active, sluts and hoes, that kind of thing. Then there are specific labels for older women who are sexually active. There are specific labels for lesbians who are sexually active.
I was always very frustrated with the fact that my brothers or other males my age would be considered to be almost heroes, the more young women that they laid. But if myself, and really as a middle-class white girl, who was not considered to be a bad girl, but if I so much as like even thought about the experience, you're right, I would be labeled slut very quickly. And they were like heroes or like good for you. They have that old boys school. And that was a very frustrating thing to live through.
But now attitudes are changing, and there's a lot of younger women who have a healthy attitude because they're brought up that way, because there is, you know, much more information and and younger women are feeling good about their sexuality at an early age. So therefore, I'm thinking that maybe cougars won't be around when they're older, because they'll already have a, know what it's like to be free sexually.
I might not know the term cougar, but I've been there.
I actually live with a younger man. I'm 42 and Damon is 23, and we've been going out for 3 years. So I don't know if that makes me a cougar. Maybe that just makes me a perv.
It was a wonderful experience to be with the younger man who was able to, yes, have sex 7 times a night rather than somebody who I had been living with before who we hadn't had sex for 10 years.
I don't think that there's anything that quite compares to having sex with another human being. I mean, getting like naked and kind of rolling around with them. It's like a lot of fun, people desire it, and it's one of our like basic desires, I think.
I do think we tend to have to worry about what we do sexually and what the repercussions are going to be.
No, I don't think, anybody who goes out and seeks out sexual pleasure with another adult, I think that's a very healthy thing. Unless you don't feel good about doing that. You're doing it for, reasons that make you feel bad. And I'm sure there's a lot of that going on as well.
We used to judge women on how much it took to get drunk to have sex with them, of course. So, like, say if you had sex with a girl and you'd call her like a 6-pack because you needed a 6-pack to have sex with her, or you'd maybe say she was like a 40, and then you can differentiate. She's a 40 of like mezcal, she's a 40 of gin. You know what I mean? It depends on what's your worst drunk you could possibly get.
If male behavior is the standard for equality, then perhaps in a misguided way, that is what women are going to think of as sexual empowerment.
As being equal.
Well, yeah. If this is what men are doing and they're, sexually empowered, well, I guess it must be what we ought to be doing.
They're dangerous. They're dangerous. Like I would stay clear away from them now. They just sit up on their little perch and they're ready to pounce at any moment. And yeah, there should be something. There should be something done about our cougar problem in Victoria, especially. I don't think that they should be allowed to roam as they do. I don't think they should be allowed to do what they're doing.
Is this a derogatory term to call a woman a cougar?
It's very sexist, and we're using it like it's a layman's term, but no, definitely. It's very backward.
I would hesitate to say that this kind of labeling totally controls women, because that makes it sound as though we're completely victimized by them and we have no choice. We're just completely ordered around by cultural stereotypes. But I think what it does, it's part of our cultural baggage around sexuality, and it's something that we have to take into account. It's something we have to think about. What we do about it then is something else again.